So listen, I know on this channel I'm mostly going to be dedicated to my journey into film photography, something I'm loving, but I fully acknowledge, and it's true, that there are some circumstances where film photography is an inconvenience at best. One of those circumstances is, without a doubt, chasing northern lights. Now, that's not to say you can't take amazing photos of the northern lights with a film camera. Of course you can. But my experiences of chasing the northern lights, which have been quite many, we've been very lucky here in Scotland over the last few years, is that you need to be on your toes, you need to move a lot around from one location to another, depending on clouds, depending on weather. You're also, generally speaking, out in freezing cold conditions with wind blowing at you and all sorts. In those type of circumstances, personally, I'm not messing with film. It's just not the time and the place for me. I have not felt that cold in quite a long time. We've been out of the car for about 40 minutes. It is 9 degrees Celsius, but with the wind chill, it's definitely colder than that. But I have to compare this Aurora storm, this Northern Light storm, to what we saw in May. May was like otherworldly, but tonight there's just something with the red, the strong red, that hopefully has come through in these videos. It was just unreal. Amazing. Blown away. So the way I used to do it, and the way that a lot of pro photographers obviously do it, is they go out with a DSLR style camera and they take amazing photos of the northern lights. Up until quite recently, that was really the only way to do it properly. You can also use like kind of handheld digital cameras that have video functions or star lapse modes, and I still use them for the time lapse type of sceneries that they take, which is amazing when the northern lights are dancing. But nowadays, I must admit, I definitely think the way to do it is with a phone. Until quite recently, phones were rubbish at taking photos of the northern lights. And I know this because I went to Iceland maybe 7 or 8 years ago, saw the northern lights, the phones did nothing. Went back there maybe 5 or 4 years ago, again the phones still were not good enough to take good shots of the northern lights. But now, of course, all smartphones have some kind of night feature. And on the iPhone, that's called night mode. And you can do it handheld. Honestly, just a few years ago, this would have been impossible. Any photos of the northern lights or video would have to have been done on a tripod. But now you can literally point your phone at the sky and take really good, stable shots of the northern lights on night mode. Now, of course, there is a difference. There are going to be photographers yelling at me through the screen right now, saying if you take it with a DSLR on a tripod, the images are going to be sharper, there's going to be more details, you're going to see them properly, all the rest of it. And that is definitely true. However, like I said, convenience plays a big part in chasing the northern lights. You need to be mobile, you need to be active, you need to be going from one location to the next. And I just find personally, shooting with phones nowadays is the way to do it. Now I know, again, people are going to be yelling at me that the photos are not going to be as accurate, and like AI nowadays plays a part in these night modes and like kind of predicts what should be there and adds colour to them and all the rest of it, and that's fine and fair enough. But at the end of the day, I enjoy the photos, and I think that's basically what matters. I go out to take photos that I enjoy and I like looking at. It just so happened that on this particular night we had one of the most spectacular Northern Light shows that maybe we've ever had in my, not lifetime, because I know in the 80s and 90s they had some amazing shows, but in recent memory. And this year I've been lucky to have 2 amazing shows like that. here in Scotland is a place that we always tend to go for the Northern Lights, because when we see them in Scotland, they tend to be quite weak, so you need to go places where it's dark enough to see them and with a clear northern horizon. And for us, that is along the East Lothian coast. So we drove out there knowing there was going to be a big storm to see what we could see, and we were not disappointed. We were obviously joined by lots of other people there taking lots of photos as well. The sky, I mean, listen guys, I just don't have words for how amazing it was. For at least an hour, we were seeing all kinds of colours, and especially on this night, the reds were so vivid and bright, and it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. But they did start to fade. However, I knew because of the storm that was currently happening, the solar flare, that it would be coming back again and again throughout the night. They would fade a bit and then they would come back strong. So we wanted to go to Edinburgh City Centre to see if it might be possible to see them from there and maybe get some cool shots of the castle, maybe, because that's very, very rare, really rare. They don't show up bright enough here in these low latitudes of Scotland often to be able to see them in a city like Edinburgh with lots of light pollution. But we thought because we had already seen them so strongly at the start of the night, we would do that. And guys, listen, I don't know all the technical details about auroras and how they happen exactly. I know that the sun goes through cycles of being active in terms of how it ejects mass out into space, and when it has these ejections, when they're big enough and they come towards Earth, we get very strong solar storms like we just had for this particular event. But the sun is also constantly throwing out radiation, usually in much smaller amounts, and that is the normal. And those are the times when, in places like Iceland, for example, you will see them, if it's a clear sky, regularly in Iceland. Mostly throughout the winter time when it's dark, you can see the northern lights there most evenings, even in a very low way, because the sun is constantly throwing out this radiation towards us. But here in Scotland, in the lower latitudes, and probably many places like this, you require the bigger solar flare storms that punch out that extra mass towards us for us to see them clearly. Now, there are solar storms and there are solar storms. The one that we saw on this particular evening was, kind of once in a lifetime type of thing. You need a lot of things in your favour. First of all, you need it to be kind of winter-ish. Here in Scotland in the summer, so June, July and August, roughly, it doesn't really get properly dark sometimes, and that means that it becomes very difficult to see the aurora. So you need these big flares to happen usually in wintertime. The next thing you need is for the skies to be clear, because if it's cloudy, you will not see them. Alright, it's getting late now. Second part of our mission tonight is to see if we could see the Aurora Borealis in Edinburgh City Centre. Mission already accomplished, but the problem is I want to see it over the castle, which is there, that yellow light behind us. The problem is the aurora is so strong tonight that it's just directly above there. You can just see it on camera there now. Look at that. That's the aurora on camera. That's insane. In Edinburgh City Centre. So I can't see it over the castle. But I want to show you a trick. So the best way to photograph northern lights really is with the iPhone these days. Just no two ways about it. It is by far the most convenient way to take photos of the northern lights, because the night mode on these is just really good. But a good way to film is when you're on the night mode on your phone. It's not called night mode. What's it called? Night lapse? No, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. When it's like that, you can just do a screenshot video like that, and then all of a sudden you're taking a video of everything that you see. Because it's doing a screen record. So even though I'm not technically an expert in this type of thing, I can't tell you all the finer details of why aurora's happening, and how to see them and all the rest of it. I know when they're coming because I follow some people who do know what they're talking about, and you can follow them too. The places to look for these experts are Facebook. There are Facebook groups. The one that I follow is Aurora UK. There's a guy on there called James. He is the main moderator and the founder of that particular forum, I believe. He knows everything about the aurora. He will tell people days in advance when it's going to happen. So my first tip is for you to get involved in these groups. understand when these are going to happen, and then take their advice and head out when they tell you to. And keep notifications for these groups on. I also follow the same people on Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, for the same reasons, and put your notifications for these people on, because when they tell you it's going to happen, pay attention. And then the next thing is to follow the apps. There are several apps out there which show you aurora activity. I use one called Aurora Forecast. If I click on it now, it looks like that. And actually, as you can see from the green swirling around the Earth's poles, there is actually a little bit of activity tonight, although it's saying 0% chance here in Scotland. It gives you a forecast looking ahead, and they will tell you days in advance when they know that the solar flares have happened and ejections have happened from the sun, and you're going to get these super strong storms. Anyway, that's a digression. All of that to say, I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I do know when they're coming because I follow the experts and I take their advice, and that's what you should do as well if you want to see the aurora. This year's been amazing. For the last 2 years, it's been pretty good, to be honest. We've seen them consistently maybe 4, 5, 6 times a year now for the last 2 or 3 years, which is very cool. And we've been very lucky that here in Edinburgh, for the last 2 major solar storms, the one in May this year, 2024, and now the one in October, the skies were clear. You could see the stars. So anyway, we wanted that Edinburgh City Centre shot. We drove back into Edinburgh City Centre, and we walked over to Princes Street, view of the castle, and we couldn't see anything. They weren't there. We almost turned round and went back to the car. We almost did it. But we continued down for some bizarre reason, and then the phone gave us another alert that there was going to be another surge of activity. And then we looked up, and sure enough, the sky was red again, right above us and above the castle. We persisted more, and then we headed down. We remembered there was a graveyard at the end of Princes Street that, if you go down, kind of looks up towards Edinburgh Castle. Maybe that would give us our breakthrough. Insane. We are in Princes Street right now, and we're seeing the Northern Lights. That's insane. Over at Edinburgh Castle. Trying to get a better view of it though. Maybe... Can we get down in the garden somehow?
Yeah, the cemetery.
There's always a cemetery.
There's always a cemetery open.
Right, let's go into the cemetery. This could be the one. This could be it. Spooky as hell.
To be honest, I never came down the cemetery.
First time we've been down in the cemetery, and it's at night, and there's no one else here. Maybe here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. That is a banger, that is. Look at this for a shot. This is the money one. I'm not sure, mate. I don't know. Yeah, we try, yeah? Alright. That's insane. It's pillars and all sorts. Look at that. That's insane.
See right now. Oh, beautiful.
Mission accomplished, and then some. We're here right below Edinburgh Castle, and we've got the Northern Lights dancing above Edinburgh Castle, like that. I don't know. I mean, that must have happened before. Somebody must have caught that before, but I've certainly never seen it in my lifetime that's been the case. It's honestly, tonight is another level. It's incredible. I can see with my own eyes. The sky is bright pink. No, this is insane. This is like captured on video. No, this is honestly, this is mind blowing. I will never Like, there's no reason for us ever to come down to the graveyard at night like this, but I found a very good reason for it. Oh, wow, magical. Like, I've a look up now, the sky, it's just red. Look, there's the castle, up there. Look at that, look at that. That's insane. I'm totally lost for words right now. I can't even see what's down here. Another castle. There's not a single direction that this is not.
The castle now is really green, look.
Wow. It's like right above us. This is so wild. The wind has got up really strongly. It's very, very windy now and very cold, and it's also after 2 in the morning. There's quite a lot of other crazy people joining us up here on Calton Hill, but this is our last stop. Unfortunately, it has died down now after that, like, incredible scenes, and those incredible scenes that we saw below Edinburgh Castle were just something that I think we'll never top. I think we'll never get better than that. I think we've seen peak Aurora Borealis. That's as good as it gets, and it was sensational. But it was worth stopping by here on Calton Hill to see if there was anything cool going on. But apparently, in an hour from now, it's going to get very strong again. But I think it's time for me to go to bed, and the clouds are going to roll in as well. So I think we've probably had the best of it. And we've had some really good luck tonight. But that's it. Let's get home, tucked in. So that was one of the most incredible things that we had ever seen, both me and my wife. It was sensational. It was a real privilege to have been there and to see it with our own eyes. You know, people often say that Aurora, you can only see it through the camera. You can't really see it with your own eyes. But let me tell you, there, on that night, you could see it so clearly with your eyes. It was so red. The whole sky was lit up in a way that I'd never seen before. Even under Edinburgh Castle, looking up, it did not look real. It was utterly sensational. And for the photographic element, I'm very happy with what we took. Very, very happy. I love these photos. I'll cherish them forever. And ultimately, when you're taking photos and video and other content, that's all that matters, right? And hopefully other people like it too, and that's a bonus. I hope you guys get to see it as well one day. It is honestly incredible. Maybe you live in a place where you can't see the Northern Lights. Try and make a trip one time. Maybe to Iceland or the north of Norway. Tromsø is a good place. I wouldn't say that Scotland is a place where you can guarantee to see them. You get very lucky to see them here, and if you do see them, it's special. But this year has not been a normal year for Northern Lights in Scotland. It's been very, very active because of the sun's activity. But it goes in cycles, and at some point it will calm down again, and you probably will not see them here that often, and you'll need to go to places like Iceland. So plan a trip. I would recommend it. But guys, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Normal service will resume from the next episode. And until then, I hope you have a good night, morning, evening, afternoon, or whatever time of day it is wherever you are in the world. Take care.